And our main honoree tonight, Brian Ruane, is an outstanding example of that, what I would call Irish and Irish-American patriotism. He was born in America, he moved back to Ireland, then he came back here to America to build his business career. But he has really been involved in so many ways in helping in Ireland. His company that he's directly responsible for employs 1,800 people in Ireland, making it one of the largest employers. Brian is the Chief Executive Officer of Bank New York Mellon Alternative and Broker Dealer Services. He's a member of Bank New York Mellon's Operating Committee, and his team deliver a range of services including hedge fund and private equity administration, securities clearance, collateral management, derivative servicing. Bank New York Mellon has in excess of $450 billion in assets under administration. In broker-dealer services, Bank New York Mellon is a leader and innovator, providing US government clearing services for 16 of the 20 primary dealers and servicing over 1.8 trillion daily in tri-party balances. Since 2009, Brian has been CEO of Alternative Investment Services, a business he helped build from its inception in 2004. Prior to this role, Brian was head of global client management in North America, with responsibility for banks, broker-dealers, alternative investment managers, real estate firms, insurance companies, and US asset managers. He's a member of the Board of Directors and Credit Committee of Pershing LLC and Bank New York Mellon's Sovereign Wealth Advisory Group. In 2003, he was co-opted onto the Federal Reserve Bank of New York Working Committee on the future of the US government security markets. He's also a member of the advisory board of the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate School of Business in Dublin and the Frank G. Zarb School of Business in New York. But more than that, he's a hell of a decent Irish American. And I know when we asked Brian to be our honoree tonight, he's not a guy who pushes himself forward. I think this may be the first major award he has accepted. And I know that the response when we told people that Brian was the honoree was so overwhelming from people like you that filled this room and gave us a record capacity attendance here tonight. I'm not a bit surprised because he's one of the great guys. And I'd also like to mention his wife, Anna, who proves the point that behind every successful man there's a surprised woman. So, not to mention the fact that Brian is also the father of triplets and another daughter. So would you welcome, please, our 2011 honoree, Brian Ruane.
Thank you. I noticed I didn't get the same introduction that Patricia gave Dan, handsome Dan on the cover, or Governor O'Malley, who's easy on the eyes, but that's okay. I'm good with numbers. So, thank you for your kind words, Neil. Taoiseach, General Counsel, Consul General, Ambassador, distinguished guests, fellow honorees, my good friends, my brother Patrick, my wife Anna. It's a great honor to be here with you this evening to celebrate and recognize the success of fellow Irish Americans who work here in finance in the United States, and to accept the award on behalf of my firm, BNY Mellon. It's also an honor to follow in the footsteps of past honorees, many of whom have helped me and encouraged me along the path in my career. Before I talk about Ireland's role in the alternatives industry, I'd like to give a little bit of background on what the fund services industry is, because that's what we're in. We're in the fund services industry. Many believe that alternatives, hedge funds in particular, are a relatively recent development in investment management. However, they've been around for more than 50 years. Alfred Winslow Jones, a financial journalist turned money manager, developed the first hedge fund in the 1950s. He allocated equal amounts of the fund's capital to go short stocks as he did to go long other stocks. The purpose of this was to reduce market risk and, in a sense, provide a hedge in order to preserve capital. Since that time, alternatives have grown, and they now encompass a broad range of investment styles, including many that firms in this room manage. Single manager hedge funds, fund of hedge funds, private equity, real estate, and even infrastructure. At its simplest, the business that we do, and many others do in Ireland, the administration of alternative assets, is a third-party, independent review and calculation of a fund's net asset value. On the stock exchange, that would be called its share price. It is a highly labor-intensive business. The fund administrator has daily contact with the executives at the fund, and it additionally acts as the main and in many cases the only communication vehicle between the investor and the manager. The current size of the hedge fund market is significant, in excess of $2.3 trillion in assets, and rising. In the first half of this year alone, hedge fund assets grew by $62 billion. However, it should be noted that at $2.5 trillion, private equity, an important market to our firm also, is significant and growing and may even offer a greater opportunity for Ireland. The source of all this capital flowing into the industry is essentially increased allocations from institutional investors, pension funds. Over the past decade, pension funds have gradually developed their own hedge fund investment programs, and since the financial crisis have been the dominant investor segment allocating new capital to hedge funds. According to recent research, the majority of institutional investors plan to increase their allocation to alternative investments, with some planning to allocate as much as 10% of their total assets to hedge fund strategies. As a result, these investors, many of them our own pensions, will have a significant influence over the culture of the fund services industry and how this gets managed going forward. With the newfound power to shape this industry, its trends and practices, due to the sheer size of these pension funds' capital, these institutional investors are primarily, at this stage, focused on operational aspects of the industry. As a result, there's an increasing demand for institutional quality services that provide transparency, operational oversight, flexible product strategies, and basically trust. Demand for administration services has accelerated in the wake of the global financial crisis, and in particular, the Madoff fraud, which, while not a hedge fund, has had a significant platforms, like our own affiliate. There's a continuing move towards independent fund administration in the industry, specifically for the hedge funds in the United States, and also for private equity firms globally, as they now embrace outsourcing. In short, this market is getting larger. Fund servicing is increasing in importance. Investors now take this seriously, and events over the last number of years have had a tremendous effect on the type of firms they want to hire as service partners. Next, investors forecast that managed account structures will experience substantial growth. Their benefits include improved transparency, liquidity, and control. Fund of hedge funds, a type of structure that was seen to be, or many ruled to be dead, is not, particularly for larger managers with established track records. They're here to stay. Finally, investors want better alignment of their interests with their managers. The main changes will likely feature longer-term performance fees, increased capital investment from managers, and a move towards enhanced liquidity and transparency. The size of the industry, as I said earlier, is set to grow significantly. In conclusion, it's clear that Ireland is a strong location to do business in Europe and an excellent place for the investment funds industry to recruit talented employees and to grow. It's supported by a solid regulatory environment, an equitable tax structure, and it's also clear that the hedge fund market is getting larger by the day. Going forward, in my opinion, Ireland will remain a centerpiece to this ever-changing global financial services environment, albeit one that offers significant change and opportunity, particularly within the growing hedge fund and private equity servicing worlds. At least as it relates to this industry, the outlook is quite bright. Thank you.